this video, I'm going to be reading Taylor Jenkins Reid's backlist books, or the books that she has published before: Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've already read One True Loves back in February, so I won't be really reading this anymore. Just maybe going over my tabs, because I will be ranking them according to my level of enjoyment. I'll be reading 3 books: Maybe in Another Life, Forever Interrupted, After I Do. I actually started on Maybe in Another Life, so I will be updating you after I finish this. So I finished this. Wow, that's all I have to say. This is the perfect read if you are in a point in your life when you feel like you've made wrong decisions, or maybe you have a lot of what ifs, thinking about what could have been if you made a different choice. So this book is really good, really good. I enjoyed it. And this story is about a girl, Hannah. She is already 29 years old, but then she finds herself a little bit lost in life. She doesn't have a stable job. She's involved with a married man at first, but then of course she tried to change that. When things didn't work out, she lived with her best friend, and they went to this party one night. And the story timeline splits when she had to choose whether she's gonna go home with her best friend, or if she's going to go with her ex-boyfriend, her boyfriend in high school. Things occur, of course. I don't know, there's just magic whenever Taylor Jenkins Reid writes her stories. She's very good at pacing her novels. It doesn't feel too rushed or too slow. It's just right. So definitely pick this up, especially if you feel like you're in the point in your life where you feel like you're not in the right place. I'm gonna be reading After I Do now, and I'll check back once I'm finished. Okay, so I finished reading After I Do, and I have to say I like this more than Maybe in Another Life. This is a story about 2 people who are on the brink of divorce. They feel like their marriage is not gonna work anymore because they have fallen out of love. So they decided to remedy this by no communication, not seeing each other for a whole year, and like everything is allowed. Like they can date other people too. So it's a very unorthodox way of fixing your marriage. I did not know where this was gonna go. I'm not gonna say anything more because that might ruin it for you if you want to read this. It also tackles like different perspectives you can have about marriage. Like you can not marry at all, or you can marry even if you don't really love that person yet. And as always with Taylor Jenkins Reid's characters, they are very real. I'm giving this 5 stars. And with that, I will be reading Forever Interrupted, which is the last book on this vlog's TBR. Okay, so I finished Forever Interrupted, and I would have to say, and I'm surprised by this, that this is the best. Okay, so this is the very first one she actually published back in 2013. Really enjoyed this. I did not expect going into this and loving it. That's why I gave this 5 stars. Okay, the story, if you don't know, is there is a girl who falls hard and fast in love with this guy. On New Year's Day, they met, and after 6 months, they decided to elope. And elope basically means getting married without permission from their parents. So they did that, and then he gets into an accident, and that is not a spoiler because it's literally the synopsis. And so she's grieving, naturally. And what makes the situation more complicated is, aside from losing the person that she loved, finding the love of her life and then losing him in just an instant. And what makes it more complicated is she meets her mother-in-law, who doesn't even know that she exists. First, I thought this is a very straightforward plot. I think I know what's gonna happen. But TJR always has a way of making things fun, and she added some kind of twist. Well, not fun that it made me happy, but fun that it made me want to keep reading. What happened with the marriage certificate? Because the mother-in-law was waiting for her to prove that they actually got married. So there's this issue with the marriage certificate, and whether she will accept the money that her husband left her. If she does accept it, what will she do with it? And stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting take on grief. What do you do? How do you define your love if it only lasted 6 months? How do you compare that to a relationship that, say, lasted 30 years? What makes love that strong enough to be considered as true love, even if it was just for a very short period of time? I love this. So yeah, I'm sure it's not for everybody, but I don't know, this just took my breath away in a way that I did not expect. As I said, I will be ranking the 4 books, and I've already spoiled my top favorite one, which is Forever Interrupted. Before I do the ranking, I will be describing One True Loves. Okay, so this is about a girl who she is married to her high school sweetheart. They've been married for like 3 years or so, as far as I can remember. And then the guy goes to this vacation trip with his coworkers, and the plane that he was on crashed. Unfortunately, they couldn't find his body, although they did find the bodies of the other people in the plane and they all died, so they assumed that he was dead. Okay, so the main character was very devastated. It took her years, like 6 years, to move on. Like, she always had this feeling of regret of why did she allow her husband to go. And then finally, she opens her heart again when she meets this guy who has been in love with her ever since. But it wasn't obvious to her. She didn't know that. But it's, to you as a reader, it's very obvious that he has been in love with her since forever. They get engaged. So both parties are happy. They're having this dinner with the family. And then suddenly her phone rings, and when she answers it's her husband. So now she has a husband and a fiance. And the story of this is basically, who do you choose? I rooted for someone here specifically right from the beginning, and I'm so happy that she ended up with him. What is the dynamic of love during the past, during the present, and looking at love towards the future? So it's not fresh anymore in my brain, but I remember having that sort of impression from the commentaries in this book. Okay, so I will be ranking the remaining 3 books. So the next book after Forever Interrupted would have to be After I Do. I really like more on the discussion of the family and the different perspectives on marriage, the different commentaries on message, more than the relationship of the 2 main characters, because you hardly see them together. You do see them like when they built up their relationship, but that's not that much. It was more of the main character's journey by herself and rediscovering what she wants in her life and in a part. So After I Do is very interesting. So this is pretty tough because I find both very interesting. But I guess in terms of my feelings, I would have to say I liked this one more. Maybe In Another Life. Though plot-wise, this is more interesting. So I think maybe In Another Life has more meaningful lessons than One True Loves. Though they're both good. This one has it has a plot, yes. But you don't feel like you're not really invested in the character's life. You're more invested on what's happening. Because the reason why that is so is because there are 2 timelines. There are 2 things happening at the same time. The perspective is switching for every chapter, and that's why the story seems very short, because there are basically 2 stories in this book with the same character, and that's why you don't feel that as connected to her, because she's making different decisions for both storylines. For this one, of course, you're experiencing the frustration of one person, so you feel like you're more connected with her, and like I said, the plot is more interesting, but this one has better lessons. Okay, so for the final ranking, I will be going with One True Loves and maybe In Another Life, but very, very close. I'm going with After I Do for my second one, and Forever Interrupted. So the first 4 books of Taylor Jenkins Reid's backlist is very interesting. It tackles love in different aspects of it. So we have, what if your partner dies? What if you lose love for your partner? What if you don't choose the right person, or if you choose the right person? Or if you choose a person, do you choose the right one? And who do you choose if you have 2 loves? I highly recommend you just read them all because, they're all great. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!